tip that led investigators to this McDonald's where the suspect was taken into custody.
Also breaking overnight, an announcement from North Korea. The country claims Kim Jong-un can now fire a missile reaching anywhere on the U.S. mainland. This morning, what that new missile launch tells us and how President Trump is responding.
A brazen heist at the Bellagio Hotel. A masked gunman storms in, making off with cash from the poker cage. The famous actor who was just feet away, and the Las Vegas police manhunt overnight.
Dog owners on alert. The FDA issues a new warning about treats blamed for dozens of illnesses and several deaths. Hear the new recommendation to keep your dog safe.
And one teenager's plan to raise money for a children's hospital by matching donations going viral. And now her generosity could cost her big money.
From ABC News in New York, this is America This Morning.
And we do say good morning. It's turning out to be a busy one. We begin with the breaking news from Tampa, an arrest in the hunt for a suspected serial killer.
Hours after a tip led them to a McDonald's, police have 24-year-old Howell Donaldson in custody. He'll face first-degree murder charges in 4 deadly shootings.
And police have not released too many details about Donaldson. What we do know, though, he was briefly a member of the St. John's University basketball team back here in New York, graduating in 2015. Now, 2 years later, he's an accused killer. This morning, a possible serial killer captured.
Tonight, goodness has won.
Tampa police announcing they will charge Howell Donaldson in connection with 4 murders after taking him into custody at the McDonald's where he worked. Investigators say a tip from one of his co-workers led to his arrest.
We received some information about Mr. Donaldson having a firearm at the McDonald's. One of his co-workers approached a police officer. Through our investigation, several hours later, we will be charging Donaldson.
And this exclusive video from ABC station WFTS showing officers putting Donaldson in a police car. Investigators believe he's the same man spotted on multiple surveillance cameras near the scene of the murders. All 4 victims shot at random at night or in the early morning hours while walking alone. Police received 5,000 tips over the 51-day investigation. And during that time, the community lived in fear, with police on nightly patrols and the FBI going door to door. The city's mayor says justice will be served.
Tonight is the beginning of when justice will be served. And then the process will occur when this individual rots in hell.
Quite some words there from the mayor. No word yet on a possible motive for the killings. Officials in Florida say Donaldson has no criminal history other than a handful of traffic citations.
Now to our other top story. Overnight, North Korea announced it has successfully launched a new type of ballistic missile that can reach any location on the U.S. mainland. But President Trump is trying to reassure Americans that the threat is under control. ABC's Molly Hunter has all the developments for us. Good morning, Molly.
Diane, good morning. That's right. This is the most powerful weapon they've ever tested. But why now? 75 days after their last test, have those back-channel talks faltered? Is diplomacy dead? Experts aren't sure, but this is a very scary milestone.
This morning, a new threat from North Korea. The country launching an intercontinental ballistic missile that puts all of the United States in striking range. It shot 2,800 miles into space, flying for 50 minutes, and experts warn if angled for distance instead of altitude, that same missile could reach Washington, D.C.
It went higher, frankly, than any previous shot they've taken. It's a research and development effort on their part to continue building ballistic missiles that could threaten everywhere in the world, basically.
The Pentagon briefing President Trump while the missile was still in the air.
A missile was launched a little while ago from North Korea. I will only tell you that we will take care of it. We have General Mattis in the room with us, and we've had a long discussion on it. It is a situation that we will handle.
In July, North Korean state-run television released this image showing Kim Jong-un inspecting the same type of missile. With its launch, the country claims it's now achieved its goal of becoming a nuclear state. And now, for the first time since the Cold War, Hawaii is resuming the testing of its nuclear attack warning sirens.
A possibility of attack today is very remote. But we do believe that it's important that we be proactive.
Now, President Trump has spoken with South Korea's president and Japan's prime minister, reaffirming U.S. commitment to those regional allies. All three countries have called for an emergency UN Security Council meeting, and that meeting, guys, will take place later today. Diane, Candace.
Still unclear what exactly the Security Council plans to do, but many people will be waiting to hear what they have to say. Molly Hunter for us in London. Thanks, Molly. And on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are racing to avoid a government shutdown by the end of next week.
Senate Democrats skipped a meeting with President Trump after he said he does not see a deal happening. The president also has his hands full with tax reform. He's making headway, though, with Republicans, despite a new report claiming the plan will hurt low-income Americans more than first thought. ABC's Kenneth Moten is following the developments from D.C. Good morning, Kenneth.
Good morning, Candace and Diane. Senate Republicans can only lose 2 votes, but right now at least 10 have voiced concerns over the GOP tax reform plan. Today, President Trump is on the move, headed to Missouri to sell tax reform to the American people. The president on Capitol Hill yesterday to rally Senate Republicans. Their tax plan cleared a major hurdle. The Budget Committee signed off, sending the bill to the full Senate for a possible vote tomorrow over the shouts of protesters. Analysts say those earning more than $100,000 a year would likely see big tax cuts. But within 10 years, most Americans earning less than $75,000 a year estimated to pay more.
If this bill works the way I think, all these loud people will have proven to be loud, and I will have proven to be right. If it doesn't do what I think it will do, then we will lose.
Tax reform a priority, but a more immediate deadline, funding the government by next Friday or face a shutdown. President Trump needs to strike a deal with the Democrats. But right before his meeting with leaders Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, the president tweeted, blasting them, saying he doesn't see a deal.
The president said, I don't see a deal, 3 hours before our meeting, before he heard anything we had to say.
Schumer and Pelosi skipped the White House meeting.
They decided not to show up. They've been all talk and they've been no action. And now it's even worse. Now it's not even talk.
President Trump and Republicans are in control, but he says he'll blame the Democrats if there is no funding for the government and the government shuts down. Sticking points, defense spending, legal status for Dreamers, and also funding for the president's border wall. Diane, Candace.
Oh, okay, so some light funding issues ahead. Kenneth Moten there in D.C. Thank you.
A federal judge has ruled President Trump can appoint the interim boss at a consumer watchdog agency. That means Mick Mulvaney will run the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, an agency he once called a sad joke. The Bureau's deputy director had sought a restraining order to stop Mulvaney from taking control after both were named interim director.
Time now for your weather on this Wednesday morning. The heaviest snow cover in the country today is in Hawaii. The state's mountains do get snow during the winter, but not usually like this. Take a look at the time lapse. One mountain peak was closed to the public, and the staff at the weather station had to evacuate because of whiteout conditions. Hawaii's snow will be melting today. The high in Honolulu will be 84. Portland and Seattle will reach 49. Minneapolis 45. Miami will top out at 80, and Boston's high will be 55 degrees.
A major security flaw has been found in Mac computers. We have the details on that coming up.
And also ahead, new pictures released overnight in the search for a 3-year-old girl. Last seen when her mother put her to bed.
And one of the best-known quarterbacks in football gets benched. See his emotional reaction.
We're back with a possible new clue in the search for a 3-year-old girl from North Carolina who mysteriously vanished from her bedroom. The FBI is trying to figure out if the child seen in these surveillance photos is Mariah Woods. The images taken Monday morning. They came from a Walmart about 1 hour away from her home. Mariah's mom says she last saw her daughter when she put her to bed Sunday night, but Mariah's dad, her ex-husband, is not buying the story.
Somebody just walked right up in there, grabbed the 3-year-old out of bed. She didn't cry, she didn't scream, nobody heard nothing.
Well, the parents have been in a custody battle. The live-in boyfriend of Mariah's mom says Mariah woke up around midnight and he sent her back to bed. They didn't realize she was missing until the next morning.
A speech at the University of Connecticut by a far-right blogger ended in chaos, fistfights, and 2 arrests. The event was called It's Okay to Be White and featured the White House correspondent for a site called The Gateway Pundit. Now, police say he was arrested after grabbing a woman who apparently tried to steal papers off his podium. The university president called it a disappointing evening. And Macintosh users with the High Sierra operating system may be at high risk. A security flaw in the system allows anyone to log in without a password. The bug was made public on Twitter by a Turkish developer. Apple says it's working on a software update to fix the problem.
But apparently the Apple guys were once hackers themselves. Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs developed the Blue Box in 1972. It's a hacking device that allowed them to make long-distance phone calls for free. The device produced tones that fooled phone companies' switching systems. It's expected to sell for up to $50,000.
For all those landline long-distance calls?
For kids' phones that were actually attached to the walls at one point.
Okay, got it. All right, when we come back, a warning for dog owners. See the treats that can be deadly for your pet.
But first, a robbery at the Bellagio Hotel, the famous actor who was just feet away.
And a new move to make Viagra available over the counter.
We're following a developing story from Las Vegas. Police have launched a manhunt after a brazen robbery at the Bellagio Hotel. And this morning, we're getting our first look at the man police are trying to find. And take a look. They say he was wearing a wig and glasses, and his face was partially covered when he robbed a cashier at the famed Bellagio's poker cage. Now, his getaway car was in the valet area, and someone else was inside the vehicle. Police do not believe that person was there willingly, however. They say they're confident they'll make an arrest soon.
There was video. There was a lot of things that were done to help us feel comfortable and confident, and that those that would commit crimes like this on the Strip will be hunted down, and whatever amount of cash he got is not enough to face a lifetime in prison.
And get this, actor James Woods was in the casino at the time of the robbery. He says that he was only 30 feet from the poker cage, but he tweeted, "The Bellagio staff were fantastic. They surrendered the money quietly, so no customers would get hurt. Nobody even realized it was happening. Excellent staff, cool under pressure."
The man accused of being the ringleader in the attacks on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya, has been cleared of the most serious charges. The Libyan militant was acquitted of murdering the U.S. ambassador and 3 other Americans, but he was convicted on terror charges. That means he'll still face at least 10 years in prison. And the Air Force has uncovered more crime reporting failures like the one involving the shooter in the Texas church rampage. A review found several dozens more cases in which the Air Force failed to tell the FBI about criminal convictions of service members. The Texas church gunman was a former airman with a domestic violence conviction. The Air Force never reported his conviction to the FBI, which would have prevented him from buying guns. The family, who lost 9 people in that shooting, has now filed wrongful death claims against the Air Force.
The FDA is warning pet owners not to buy certain dog bones because they could pose a deadly risk. Officials say processed bone treats have caused dozens of illnesses, stomach problems, internal bleeding, and at least 15 deaths. They say the biggest concerns are bones that are dried through baking or smoking, including treats labeled as ham bones, pork femur bones, or rib bones, and smoky knuckled bones. The FDA recommends talking to your vet about which bones are safe for your pet. And there's a new move to make Viagra available over the counter. The UK is making the change out of concern about counterfeit blue pills. We recently reported that Viagra is among the top counterfeited products being sold in the United States. There is no word, however, if the U.S. will follow the British in making it available without a prescription.
In sports, many NFL players and fans say they are shocked that the Giants have benched Eli Manning. He had started 210 consecutive games. That's the second longest streak by a quarterback in league history. Manning was emotional after being told of his demotion, but says he'll support his replacement, Geno Smith.
I'll back him up. I'll be a good teammate. You know, I don't like it, but it's part of football. You handle it and do my job. That's hard. It's been a hard day to handle this, but you know, hang in there and figure it out.
Now, Manning was offered the chance to briefly start Sunday's game just to preserve his streak and then come out, but he turned that down.
Well, there's a big shakeup in college football. Clemson is now on top of the football playoff rankings, followed by Auburn. And in the NBA, this was a big night. LeBron James can now say he's been ejected from a game. Congratulations. It happened in the third quarter of Cleveland's win over Miami last night when LeBron got a little cranky with a referee not making a call that he thought was deserved.
Can't yell at the refs. All right, coming up, some new trouble for Uber. The company's accused of using former CIA agents to spy on rivals.
But first, the royal wedding. The steps Meghan Markle must take before she can marry Harry.
Plus, the bizarre burglary. Yes, that's a stuffed zebra. We'll tell you all about it coming up.
Lavish wedding in the city.
And Markle has some big changes ahead. She'll be baptized into the Church of England, presumably before the wedding. She'll also become a British citizen, though that process could take a few years. Meanwhile, scientists say a tomb believed to have held the body of Jesus dates back nearly 1,700 years, which supports traditional Christian beliefs.
The crypt is in Jerusalem in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It's been a pilgrimage site for Christians.
The new scientific findings match closely the legend of the tomb, which was discovered around the year 330.
A Washington teenager is learning a valuable lesson in fundraising.
Danny Messian tweeted that she's raising money for St. Jude Children's Hospital, and she promised 25 cents for every favorite the tweet gets and 50 cents for every retweet.
So that tweet quickly spread, getting 500,000 favorites and 200,000 retweets.
Ooh.
So that means Danny owes more than $210,000, way more than her budget. Instead, she started a GoFundMe page for the charity.
And by I'm going to match, I mean
somebody.
You got $1?
Exactly.
Finally, a precious living room decoration, a stuffed zebra head, is now back with its owner.
Yeah, surveillance video captured a woman in Anchorage, Alaska, stealing clothes and other items from a home. She was also seen carrying out the zebra head.
Maybe she had an audition for The Godfather remake?
Does she have no mercy?
The good news, the alleged thief has been caught. George, that's the zebra head, is back on his owner's wall. He's even wearing an elf hat.
Ah.
He's getting in the spirit of the season.
But the person that got caught, is she now in pinstripes?
Ooh, very good.
No, they don't wear those anymore. More news after this. Boasting that the entire U.S. mainland is now within striking distance of its most powerful missile. The ballistic missile flew higher than ever before landing in the water off Japan. President Trump said the situation will be handled, but did not offer specifics.
Tampa police say 5,000 tips finally led to the arrest of a suspected serial killer. Howell Donaldson III will face 4 counts of first-degree murder for the shootings in the Seminole Heights neighborhood.
Uber is accused of using former CIA agents to steal trade secrets from its competitors. Federal authorities are investigating claims that the company used encrypted messages to hide its tracks.
Looking at today's weather, it'll be warmer than usual in the east and Midwest. We expect showers from the Gulf up to the Great Lakes and some snow in the northern Rockies.
Well, finally this morning, a reminder about what police say is becoming a common occurrence during the holidays, the stealing of packages from delivery trucks.
Law enforcement around the country now have a high-tech solution to track down those thieves. Reporter Veronica Miracle has the details from Southern California.
A UPS driver calls for help after police say a suspect robbed her mid-delivery in Southgate. Air 7 HD up above as the driver pulls into CBS moments after the brazen crime.
Then we just look out and then there's a bunch of cop cars and then more keep coming and then more.
Cindy Pinito was on the closing shift at a nearby Metro PCS as police searched for the suspect and the packages stolen from inside the truck.
It surprised me because you don't really hear stuff like that happening around here. It's a pretty good neighborhood.
But this type of crime doesn't surprise investigators. In fact, the Arcadia Police Department has been fighting it for years. In December of 2015, they started putting out bait boxes, packages with GPS trackers inside.
We had over 100 arrests in a few months. And again, it became more successful, and so we obtained even more boxes.
Flores says in the last 2 years, with help from retailers and community members, they've reduced the theft rate by 8%. The idea has since spread to other departments.
Even if they don't have the funds to get the program going, they've collaborated with UPS, they've collaborated with their local malls to help purchase the GPS devices, and the police department can monitor the devices.
But for this UPS driver, a rough start to the holiday delivery season that's just beginning.
Geez, it's bad enough when they steal it off the front stoop. Now it doesn't even make it there. They're stealing it off the truck.
Exactly, and there will be plenty of opportunity. UPS expects to ship 750 million packages this holiday season alone.
Wow, well, hopefully they can keep those packages safe.
Yeah,
that's what's
mine
making
comes.
news in America this morning.
All right, do stick around for Good Morning America. Have a great Wednesday.
ABC News, America's #1 news source.